The airport smelled like burnt espresso and tired perfume. I was watching people drift toward gate C-24, half dreaming, half scanning faces the way travel nurses do, like everyone might need help at any moment. My shift in Atlanta had ended 12 hours earlier, and I'd promised myself I wouldn't play hero today. Just a simple flight home to New York. Window seat, row 14. When the boarding call came, I smiled at the gate agent, lifted my carry-on, and stepped into the tunnel. The air inside was cooler, that metallic tang of recycled oxygen and sanitizer. People shuffled in slow motion. I remember thinking how familiar it all felt. Safe, routine. The flight attendant near the front greeted everyone with a perfect smile. Her name tag read ASHA. Something about her eyes made me pause. They didn't match her smile, too wide, too watchful. When I reached her, she leaned in slightly, pretending to hand me a napkin. Her fingers brushed mine, deliberate. On the napkin, scrawled in tight pen strokes. "Fake being sick. Get off this plane, now." For a second, I just stared. "Sorry," I whispered. Her face didn't move, but her eyes flicked toward the cockpit, then back to me. "Ma'am, you're seat 14C, right?" she asked in her professional voice. "Yes." Her smile faltered for half a heartbeat. "Enjoy your flight." Then she turned away, walking briskly down the aisle. I sat down, heart thudding. The leather seat felt colder than it should. My fingers shook as I unfolded the napkin again, pretending to clean a spot on my tray. Get off this plane. Now. A man across the aisle was staring at me. Not curious, measured. He wore a black jacket, no carry-on, no phone in his hand. His eyes lingered just a second too long before sliding toward the overhead compartments. I tried to steady my breathing. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe she'd mistaken me for someone else. The engines rumbled beneath us, a low growl vibrating through the floor. I glanced up at the sealed compartments above my head, every latch locked, every bin stuffed tight. Asha walked past again, her steps too quick, her jaw set. As she passed my row, she whispered so softly I almost didn't hear it. "You're not supposed to be in that seat." The air suddenly felt thinner. My phone buzzed on airplane mode, one last notification flashing before it vanished. "Seat change confirmed, 14C." 3 hours earlier, I'd been in line at the Atlanta airport coffee kiosk, half awake, scrolling through my airline app. My original seat, 21A, was near the back over the wing. A window seat, my favorite. Then came the text. "You've been upgraded to 14C, middle of the plane, aisle no charge." I shrugged. It felt like luck. Nurses don't question free upgrades. The barista spelled my name wrong on the cup, Nayla instead of Nayala, but I didn't correct her. Small errors didn't matter when you spent your life patching up big ones. I sipped burnt coffee, tugged at my lanyard. The stethoscope keychain Harold, a patient's father, had given me last month clinked against it. "For good instincts," he'd said. I'd laughed. Now the metal charm felt like a heartbeat in my pocket. At the gate, everything was normal. Businessmen, vacationers, a mother calming a toddler. I'd caught a glimpse of Asha then too, standing by the jet bridge, watching the boarding monitor instead of smiling at passengers. Her expression wasn't friendly. It was calculating, like she was solving a puzzle only she could see. "Excuse me," I said, tapping my ticket. "It says 14C, that's mid-plane, right?" She'd glanced at it, her eyes flickering just a little too long. "Yes, ma'am. Aisle seat, right under the main overhead compartment." Her tone was off, too careful. Then she smiled again, practiced, perfect, and waved me through. At that moment, I noticed 2 men across the waiting area, one in a gray cap, one in a dark jacket. They weren't talking, but they kept scanning the gate like guards without uniforms. When the boarding call started, they moved in sync. I remember thinking they travel a lot. Security types, maybe. I didn't know then that I'd remember their faces frame by frame. As I'd stepped onto the plane, the cool air hit me like metal rain. The faint smell of disinfectant mixed with jet fuel. My nurse brain logged every scent, every detail. Habit. Now, sitting in 14C, the memory replayed itself like a warning I'd ignored. The seat assignment. The long look from Asha. The men who'd moved together without speaking. And the way her eyes had widened when she saw my ticket. She hadn't been scared for me at first. She'd been scared of what my presence meant. Somewhere between that gate and this seat, I had taken someone else's place, someone the world wanted dead. The engines deepened to that low growl that means commitment, too late to turn back. The aisle lights dimmed, a soft blue. My palms were slick against the armrests. Across from me, the man in the black jacket sat still, knees slightly apart, watching the flight attendants without moving his head. Every few seconds, his hand brushed the front pocket of his jeans where a thin outline bulged. Asha moved up the aisle with the drink tray, her smile stretched thin. I saw her knuckles whiten around the handle. When she reached my row, her eyes flicked to me for a heartbeat. Then she said loudly, "Can I get you some water, ma'am?" I nodded, my throat too tight for words. She poured slowly, voice steady. "You're feeling all right." I think I'm getting lightheaded," I whispered. Her gaze locked onto mine. "Good," she mouthed, barely moving her lips. Then, in her normal voice, "Sit tight, we'll take care of you." She touched my shoulder, a soft squeeze that trembled. That's when I noticed it, the overhead compartment above me, sealed with a small piece of black tape, the kind used by maintenance. Every other bin was normal, silver latch gleaming, but this one had been marked. A single rectangle of tape, glossy under the cabin lights. I glanced around. 2 rows ahead, the man in the gray cap leaned sideways, watching us. A faint pulse beat in my throat. My phone buzzed again as I switched it out of airplane mode for just a second. The message from Delta appeared. "Seat reassignment confirmed. Passenger exchange initiated at gate." Exchange. I hadn't exchanged with anyone. I swallowed hard, typing quickly under the tray. Who was assigned to 14C before me? No signal. The message hung unsent. The seatbelt sign dinged. Asha's voice came over the intercom, light and professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as we prepare for takeoff." But her tone had a crack in it now, a quiver that no one else seemed to hear. I watched her step backward, subtly signaling another attendant, a tall man at the back. He nodded once, disappeared into the galley. Something inside me whispered, "Move." I unbuckled halfway, pretending to stretch. The man in the black jacket looked up sharply. "You should stay seated," he said. His voice was too calm, too certain. Asha returned to the intercom again, interrupting the captain's announcement. "Apologies, folks. We have a potential medical issue. We'll be returning to the gate for evaluation." The cabin erupted in size, complaints, phones lighting up. But Asha didn't look at anyone, except me. Her lips barely moved. "Get ready to run." My pulse was a hammer in my chest. The man in the black jacket reached up for the taped compartment above my head. The second his hand touched the latch, Asha's voice snapped through the cabin, sharp, commanding, nothing like the gentle tone from before. "Sir, please stay seated." He froze, hand still midair. The passengers went quiet, confusion rippling like static. Then the tall male attendant from the galley appeared, moving fast, his jacket open just enough for me to glimpse the matte black holster clipped to his belt. My heartbeat thudded so loud, I could hear it in my teeth. Asha turned to the rest of the cabin. "Everyone remain calm, we're returning to the gate." Her eyes darted back to me, just once, a silent stay down. The engines began to throttle down as the plane slowed on the tarmac, turning back toward the terminal. Then, movement. The man in the black jacket lunged for his bag. It was instant chaos. Screams, a baby crying, a phone clattering to the floor. The man in the gray cap jumped up 2 rows ahead, shouting something I couldn't understand. Asha was faster. She hit a hidden switch on the wall and shouted, "Federal marshals, move." 3 men I'd thought were regular passengers stood at once, weapons drawn, badges flashing in the cabin light. The sound of their commands overlapped. "Hands up! Down now!" Their voices sharp and practiced. The man in the black jacket froze, then slowly raised his hands. His eyes flicked to the taped compartment again, a twitch of regret, like he'd just lost something. One of the marshals yanked open the bin. The black tape ripped with a sound that made my stomach turn. Inside was a gray duffel bag, the zipper half open, wires spilling out like veins. Someone screamed. Someone prayed. Asha's voice cut through the noise. Bomb squad, confirm visual. Her badge was visible now, gold lettering, no airline logo. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The air was thick with fear and the burnt smell of overheated electronics. The marshals surrounded the compartment, one of them muttering into his radio. Device secured. Timer active, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I tasted metal in my mouth, the air dry and electric. Asha crouched beside me. You're all right, she whispered. We've got it contained. I shook my head. That seat, why me? Her jaw tightened. You weren't supposed to be here. The target was a witness under protection. They switched seats last minute. We didn't know until boarding. I stared at her, the words slow to register. It was meant for them. She nodded once. Seat 14C. Outside the window, police cars swarmed the runway, red lights flashing like a pulse. The bomb squad officer's voice came through the radio, flat, calm, final. Confirmed device. Targeted detonation pattern. Seat 14C was the kill zone. When I opened my eyes, the ceiling lights were white and humming. Not airplane lights, hospital. The smell of disinfectant hit first, sharp and clean. I was wrapped in a foil blanket, my hands trembling under it. A monitor beeped quietly beside me, steady as a metronome. You're safe, Ms. Juba, a nurse said, adjusting an IV line. They brought you in right from the runway. Runway, my throat scraped on the word. She nodded. The flight was evacuated. You passed out during the deboarding. I sat up too fast, and the room spun. Through the window, I saw blue uniforms, flashing lights, a stretch of tarmac lined with emergency vehicles. A man in a dark suit stepped inside, badge flashing in the light. Agent Cole, he said. FBI. I stared at him, still trying to catch up. What happened to the others, Asha? She's fine, he said. She's one of ours. He placed a folder on the tray table, its edges crisp, still warm from a printer. You were in the seat assigned to a federal witness traveling under alias. The suspects were part of an extremist network. Their job was to eliminate the target before takeoff. I swallowed hard, but I changed seats. He nodded. You weren't supposed to. They didn't know the witness missed the flight. He flipped open the folder, revealing the printed manifest. My name was scrawled beside seat 14C, replacement assigned. The original passenger's name was redacted with thick black lines. Beside it, handwritten in blue ink, target confirmed, aisle seat. Cold sweat slid down my spine. The nurse handed me a cup of water. My hands shook so badly that it splashed. They would have killed me, I said quietly. Yes, Agent Cole said, and likely everyone on board. The device was shaped charge directional. It would have looked like an engine malfunction on descent. He paused. Agent Asha Patel noticed the seat change and recognized one of the men boarding. She acted on instinct. That's the only reason you're alive. I remembered the napkin, the words written in blue pen, fake being sick. Get off the plane. She saved me, I whispered. He nodded. She trusted her gut, that's rare. Asha appeared in the doorway then, out of uniform now, hair pulled back, eyes softer. You scared me, she said, smiling faintly. We thought you didn't believe me at first. I almost didn't, I admitted. You looked terrified. I was, she said. You weren't the only one in danger. I glanced down at the folder again. On the last page was a photo of the bag from the overhead bin, wires splayed like veins, timer frozen at 00:32. 32 seconds. I couldn't stop shaking. How do I even go back to normal after this? Asha looked at me for a long time. You don't, she said softly. You go forward. The next morning, the FBI asked me to tell my story publicly, because the people behind that bomb were still out there. The FBI arranged a press conference 2 days later. Cameras, microphones, too many eyes. I wasn't used to being the story. Nurses usually stay invisible until something goes wrong. But now they wanted me to describe how a stranger's napkin had saved an entire flight. Asha stood beside me, Her badge clipped to a plain blazer, her posture steady but her hand trembling slightly when she thought no one could see. Before the briefing, she pulled me aside. "You don't have to say my name," she said. "If it helps you feel safe, make me anonymous." "But you deserve credit," I said. Her eyes flickered. "Credit could cost me my clearance. I broke protocol when I stopped that plane." The weight of that sank in. "So, if I tell the truth?" "I could lose my job," she finished. "But if you don't, the Bureau can spin it. Make it look like luck, not instinct." I stared at her. "You risked your life for me, for everyone on that flight." She smiled sadly. "And I'd do it again, but we both know how stories get rewritten." Later, when they handed me the statement, the words didn't sit right. A quick-thinking crew member and onboard marshals prevented a potential tragedy. No mention of her name. No mention of the napkin. Agent Cole leaned over my shoulder. "If you sign this version, things stay clean, safer for both of you." I looked at him. "You mean quieter?" He didn't deny it. The moral knot twisted in my chest. Tell the truth, and a SHA pays. Stay silent, and the real hero disappears behind bureaucracy. When the cameras came on, the lights were blinding. I gripped the podium until my knuckles went white. "A flight attendant noticed something I didn't," I said carefully. "She trusted her gut, and I trusted her." I didn't say her name, but I didn't lie either. I told the world about the napkin, the whisper, the look in her eyes. Afterward, Agent Cole met my gaze from the sidelines. He wasn't angry, just resigned. Asha gave me a small nod that said thank you and goodbye all at once. That night, the story broke everywhere. Mystery flight nurse saved by quick-thinking crew. Asha's identity was leaked anyway. The Bureau suspended her pending review. Guilt hit harder than fear ever had. I called her the next morning, but her number was disconnected. The world praised me, but I knew who deserved it. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. No return address, just 4 words in tight handwriting. "Trust your instincts always." 6 months later, the world had moved on. News cycles fade fast. But I still woke sometimes to the phantom hum of airplane engines, the smell of fuel and fear. Therapy helped. The FBI debriefs helped. But what helped most was silence, the kind you find when you stop running from what almost killed you. I went back to nursing, though not in hospitals. I started working in disaster response, helping others calm chaos instead of escaping it. I told myself that surviving meant using what I'd learned. Sometimes I still touched the napkin creased, coffee stained, words barely visible now, fake being sick. Get off the plane. I'd framed it behind glass on my kitchen wall. A reminder that sometimes salvation looks like madness until it works. Asha was reinstated, eventually. I heard through Agent Cole that she'd been reassigned to a different unit, training recruits on situational awareness. He said she used my story in her sessions, anonymous but intact. "The nurse who listened," she called it. That made me smile. One afternoon, I got a postcard. No name, just an image of a quiet coastline, blue and endless. On the back, in the same neat handwriting as before, "You saved yourself too." The napkin, the postcard, the seat number, 14C, had become symbols in my life. Not of fear, but of intuition, of trust. I still think about how small decisions ripple, changing a seat, catching a look, believing a stranger. How fragile the line is between ordinary and gone. Sometimes when I fly now, I watch the attendants move down the aisle, checking latches, counting heads, smiling even when they're scared. I think of Asha, of that first whisper that sliced through my denial. "You're not supposed to be in that seat." She was right. I was. I was supposed to live. People call me lucky, but luck doesn't look you in the eyes and beg you to listen. That was human instinct, hers, mine, maybe both. So when I feel fear now, I don't shove it down. I listen, because fear, I've learned, is sometimes just your future screaming to be saved. I trace the ink on that napkin sometimes, feel the roughness of dried pen strokes beneath my fingers, and remember that a stranger's courage can rewrite your whole story. What would you have done if someone slipped you that note? Would you have trusted them or stayed in your seat? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more true stories like this.